Well, very pleasant and wet Good Friday morning, everyone. Welcome to the Morning Huddle here on KATX, live from the lobby of the First Financial Bank here in Eastland. If you're out and about, stop by. They got some delicious cookies back there, along with some coffee. And we're going to talk all things Eastland Maverick football. I'm Terry Slavens, joined now by Athletic Director, Head Football Coach Brian Hewlett. Coach Hewlett, I said off the air, it's been talked about all week long. We're going to talk about it a little bit more here tonight or this morning. One crazy, entertaining, wild football game at Maverick Stadium that lasted nearly 4 hours last Friday night.
It was long. That's I don't know if it was I guess entertaining if you're in the stands, but it was probably crazy at times, and it was long, but we got it taken care of, and most important thing is we got out of there with the win.
Coach, it was almost like very beginning of the game where we found ourselves down 14-0 after a minute and 30 seconds into the game. A year ago we were down, I think 14-0, a minute 51 into the ball game, and all of a sudden you're starting thinking, oh my, this is going to happen to us again. And then we end up down 21-0, but the offense really took over and went to work, and the defense had some big plays in the ball game.
Yeah, I did have a distinct thought. What is it about us and this team that causes us to get down like that? I don't know where that came from, and we honestly, and it didn't show the other night, we work extra hard. We feel like more than most people on our special teams, and boy, they really throughout the night for the most part dominated us on our special teams, and that was a big deal, and that was a direct result of us getting down 14-0 when you allow a kickoff return for a touchdown and then get your punt block for a touchdown. So before you know it, you're down 14, go 3 and out, and you just really don't feel like it's something they did. It's more what you didn't do, and then they have one little drive there, and you're down 21-0, and so we just felt like we hadn't even started to play yet, and we had time, and that was the one thing you asked, what'd you get going, what'd your offense feel like? We just felt like we hadn't got going. We hadn't had time on the field, as well as there was plenty of time left in the game, and we knew there was plenty of snaps there, and we just had to get stops at times, and then finish drives by putting points in the end zone, and eventually we got going.
Now, we get back, it's 21-15, everybody, you're sort of breathing a sigh of relief, thinking, okay, we're back in this thing, and then boom, next thing you know, we're down by 20 again, 35-15. But then after that, we really took over on the scoreboard and went on into a halftime lead of 43-35, I believe was the halftime score.
Yeah, we kind of fought and scratched and crawled and got our way back into it at 21-15, I believe. And I think you'll find this in all sports and at all levels. You put in a whole lot of work to get back in there, and you kind of take a deep breath and relax, and you don't need to do that. And then before we know it, we have a turnover, our first turnover of the year, and gives them a short field, and they get a score, and they've got another score, and we're back down 3 touchdowns again. But then at that time, we just kept going offensively, kept putting points on the board, and we have 2 turnovers. We get 2 turnovers in there, get 2 picks. I think J.D. Coffey and Zach Carlton both get picks, and just goes to show you what happens when you have turnovers. And so kind of before they know it, they go up from up 3 touchdowns, down 1 at half. When we take over the kickoff of the second half and go march that thing down, and not any inclination that we're not proud and happy with our boys, but we felt like when we did that, we should have put the game away, and that's something we didn't do, and so we'll take from that and try to build and get better from it.
You mentioned the kickoff return earlier. That was Martinez, number 4. He was all over the field. Goes down with an injury right before halftime. Ambulance out on the field, takes him to the emergency room, and then all of a sudden I look out there in the fourth quarter, and he's back there getting ready to return a kick, and that sort of puts some life back in their sails, and they go on to take a 1-point lead after 2 Martinez touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and I think both sides will argue that circumstances played for them or against them, and the whole thing, from our standpoint, that was one of the best things that could have happened to them on a very hot, humid, muggy night with lots of plays and tons of kickoff returns going on. We were pretty gassed by the fourth quarter, and then here comes their best player who's been at at the hospital for 30, 45 minutes with cool air conditioner and IVs and fully fluided up and ready to go, you know. So he was running by us in the fourth quarter like we were standing still, in which I think we were. And, you know, and that just gave him a good shot of adrenaline. And they ended up going back on top of us, and then, you know, our boys just continued to play and fight, and we found a way there at the end to make some plays.
We have a moment of the game sponsored by McDonald's, and of course in a game like that, what do you pick? I ended up picking the onside kick. I mean, that was a huge turn of events there. If it doesn't work, we give them a short field, and instead we get it, we go in and score and put the game away.
Yeah, you know, the thought process there is, you know, I guess I should say, let's first of all credit our kids for doing what they're, you know, asked to do there. You know, it's a great kick by Tyler. Granville Thompson and Zach Carlton did what they needed to and took out their front guys, and then we had Josh Gosnell on the outside and Easton Sanderson behind, and the ball pops back to Easton, and Easton recovers it, you know, and they did what they needed to do to get the ball back. But, you know, just how the game had played out, there hadn't been a plethora of stops out there. And so we were up a score at the time. I think there's just 5 minutes and 9 seconds to go. You know, thought was we can get this thing, score again, put the game away, or they get it, they've got a short field. If they score, we've got time to come back and score and win the game. And, you know, and with the lack of stops that have been happening, you know, we were going to set up to win the game offensively. You know, if it was a game where we'd went ahead 14-13, you know, it'd been a total different deal where both teams had struggled offensively all night. You know, we'd kicked the ball the other end and played defense and tried to win it out. So just the circumstances of the game kind of played out that thought process on the call there.
242 snaps, I think I heard someone say plays.
No, I think we had 212.
212. Coach West was our guest at the area coaches show on Monday, and he said he wasn't sure that they had snapped the ball that many times all year.
There was a lot, you know. The ones that get you is when you think in there, and I don't even know total, but there's, I don't know, 21, 22, 23 kickoffs and kickoff returns, you know, because those are 30, 40, 50 to 60-yard sprints and just runs. You know, now think about just going out there in a day or a practice and running. All right, boys, we're going to line up around 22 50-yard sprints. You know, that's a lot in itself. And then you do that in amongst playing a game. Those are the things that really put the play perspective and the conditioning level in the mind.
11 touchdowns by Eastland in the game, I believe, was the total. Clayton Coffee State Farm gives $20 to the Beta Club for every one. He had to go to State Farm Bank and get a loan Monday to pay that back.
That's good. Hope we can keep that up.
Anyway, Coach, before we move on from this ball game, a lot of standout players in this ball game, and you can't single out any one, but phenomenal night for Josh, involved in 10 of the 11 touchdowns. Samuel Joyner had a big game. Somebody that really stuck out to me was Tyler Adams. He kicked the whole bunch, but he also has some big stops on defense and did a great job on the offensive line.
Yeah, you know, and of course Josh puts up the big numbers, and, you know, that's easy for everybody to see, but with that we blocked well. You know, somebody's catching those. I think he threw for 5 touchdowns. Somebody's catching those. You know, Matt had a couple, Sammy had one, Mason had one. I can't think who had the other one, but somebody obviously did. Up front we played well. Defensively, things that, you know, or just overall both sides of the ball, we ended up playing half to 3/4 of the game without 4 of our defensive starters. So when you look at that, that's putting someone else into action. And, you know, one of those is Tyler Adams, as you said. Another one is Braden Blackwell, played a lot more than he normally does. Clay Brewer, who had a sack. And then Easton Sanderson, you don't see that, but Easton played the majority of the game at free safety and didn't make a whole lot of plays per se, but, you know, was in the right spot and made several big plays when it counted. So just a lot of kids, you know, we really talk to our kids about this and preach about this, and you know, we have 24 guys up there and wanted and needed every one of them. And at halftime we had 23 still eligible, actually 22 because of injuries that were going to step out there the second half, and we felt like we needed all 22 of them, and they sure did the job.
All right, Coach, before we take our first break, let's run over some scores from other district opponents. from last week. Sweetwater gets the win over Breckenridge 51-33. Not a surprise there, but that game was closer than what the final score indicated late in the ballgame.
Yeah, I think it was real close. I'm assuming, I don't know much about it, but I'm assuming Sweetwater just kind of got away there at the end with Breck trying to, get over the top and probably, had to take a gamble or two, but it was a way closer game than that.
Jim, Ned, and Anson, also another game that was closer for a while there in the second half, but Anson pulls that one out 61-33.
Yeah, I think it's a touchdown game to 2 touchdown games into the fourth quarter. Anson's a good team. We played them, so it says good stuff about Jim, Ned, and where they're playing right now.
Cisco gets the win over Comanche 42-14.
Same thing, that's a 14-7 game with about 2 minutes to go in the first half, and Comanche commits turnover, and Cisco goes up 21-7, and then it's still a 28-7 game in the fourth quarter. So, you look at the 42-14, it wasn't a get ahead early and hold on. It was a have to continue to score and fight through the rest of the game to get that thing where it was.
Stanford wins 34-20 over Merkel.
Merkel's been very hurt all year. I think they're starting to get kids back, and Stanford, I believe, is number 1 in the state right now in 1A. So probably a pretty good result for Merkel at the moment.
Dublin wins their second game in a row. They beat Santo 35-25. Coach Cervetta will be our guest Monday on the Area Coaches Show.
Dublin's playing well and going to continue to get better every single game, and with the wins come good confidence for those guys, and they're just going to continue to get better.
And Whitney wins 37-14 over Clyde.
Yeah, that's a interesting score. I know Coach Gilchrist is back at Whitney. He's got his son's a 6'4", 200-plus pound quarterback, and so that adds a new added dimension. And Clyde has been banged up. I don't know who played or who didn't play, but I was kind of shocked at the result there.
And one last game we'll talk about just briefly before we go to the break. Grandview's opponent prior to us, Lago Vista, who they defeated. Lago Vista travels to Refugio and ends their 62-game regular season winning streak.
Yeah, if you're looking for things, I guess, to make you feel better, that's a good thing to feel good about. You beat an opponent who beat Refugio, at their place. So Lago's a quality football team, and that's a big result for them.
All right, Coach, we're going to take a 2-minute break. We'll come back with more of the Morning Huddle from First Financial Bank right after this. TX 97.7 and Coach Hewlett had a little football action last night. The JV, let's start with the JV Reds. They played here at home against Goldthwaite.
Yep, our JV Red played Goldthwaite and won 34-0. A big result for them. Felt like, or at least I did, the second time I've got to see them this year. They played a whole lot better than they did last time they were here. That was 2 weeks ago. Just a good night, good defense. Never got behind. Playing a Goldthwaite team, you got to stay ahead of the chains defensively and not let them get their 2, 3, 4 yards every single play. And they did a good job of that last night. Offensively, thought we ran our offense well. Nick Storm ran the ball well, threw the ball well, got lots of people involved. Guillermo Gallardo in the backfield had a big night, probably his best night ever. I don't know, rushed for 2 or 3 touchdowns and just looked good running the ball. But overall, I was pleased with their guys. We had a lot of them in the game. Everybody got good playing time, and had a good result.
And then the 7th and 8th grade teams, they made the trip down to Goldthwaite, a very wet and soggy Goldthwaite. I think there was a lightning delay at the beginning of the 7th grade game.
Hard to do, take 2 bus loads full of 7th and 8th graders and sit in a locker room that's about 6 by 8 and spend 45 minutes in a lightning delay and then try to get out there and play, and then on top of that, play on a muggy, soggy, nasty field and with rainy conditions. And so our 7th grade won 20-6. It's our second game out. Actually, that's our first full game. So when you throw in those special teams and getting kids on and off the field, that's always a big achievement to get that done. Super job with them. Gave up a late touchdown, but have played really good defense all year. I think they've got a good offensive line, and their skill kids are starting to learn what's going on. Then our 8th grade won 24-16. Gave up a late touchdown. It's kind of, sort of like we've been talking about those other scores, not quite as close as the score indicates. I think we jumped out on 14-0 in the first quarter. And that group once again played hard. Our coaches felt like Goldthwaite was a good opponent. continue to play good physical defense and running the ball well and just doing a good job.
And next week we have something that we haven't had in a couple of years, a bye in the middle of our schedule. What do we have coming up sub-varsity wise next week?
Well, first of all, the bye, that is something that, we hadn't done that in 4 years. Kind of got accustomed to the Week 10 bye, to be honest with you, and now that there's, we can't foretell the future, but if you were to make the playoffs and, there's that no bye first round of the playoffs, you wish you had that Week 10 bye again. But so we got to figure out how we're going to deal with that thing again. At next week's schedule, still being looked at and worked at as we speak. What we do know is our 7 Red is going to Brock at 4:30 to play the Brock Eagles. Right now, our 8th grade and possibly all the Black team are going to play here against the Breckenridge team at 4:30, and then our JV Black is playing Clyde here following them at 6 o'clock. We're possibly still trying to add another junior high game in there, and so we don't know yet, but we're still working on it. And then of course our JV Red will be just like our varsity; they'll have their bye week, so they'll be off.
And Coach, other games involving our district opponents this week, Comanche travels to Brady.
Yeah, I just the hearsay and talk amongst coaches right now, Comanche's playing plenty good. I know they're big up front, got quite a few skilled kids. I don't think it's one of those situations where I don't think one is exponentially better than the other, so you got to prepare for them all. And I just feel like, from what I understand, Comanche's playing at a high level right now.
We've talked about it before. Breckenridge's dangerous non-district schedule finally comes to an end, probably with their most difficult opponent of the year. They host Graham tonight.
Yeah, way less indictment on Breckenridge, but they got their hands full tonight. Graham was just a very good football team right now, no matter what classification. But they're a big 3A that's playing really well. And ranked in there amongst the top 4, 5, 6 teams in the entire state in 3A, so they got their work cut out for them.
A team from way out west, Lamesa, they travel to Clyde tonight.
Yeah, well, interesting thing, one of those things that Coach Ritchie, the head coach at Lamesa, put that game on the schedule before leaving Clyde and going to Lamesa. One of those I'm sure he wished he didn't have to face, just always tough to go back and do that. Clyde has battled quite a few injuries here lately, and I'm sure this will be a week they can get back in the win column.
I don't know, it worked out pretty well for Andy Reid last night going back to Philadelphia.
It did. Kind of hurt my fantasy team as well.
The Chiefs, who won 2 games last year, already 3-0 this year.
Yep.
So. Valley Mills travels to Dublin. Dublin 2-1. I'm looking for them to go to 3-1.
I would say so, and I'm saying that knowing absolutely no clue about anything about Valley Mills other than they're the Eagles and it's on the way to Waco. But Dublin is gaining momentum, and I'm just telling you, Dublin is they got good kids, they got quality kids. They're young, but they're young with kids who've been playing on the varsity, several of them last year as freshmen and several of them as sophomores. So they're just going to continue to get better throughout the whole year.
Jim Ned makes a trip to Forson.
Yeah, same thing as the Valley Mills. I don't know much about Forsan. They've been good the last couple of years. I really don't know, but I can tell you, just looking at scores and talking with coaches, Jim Ned is playing a lot harder with a lot more aggression and just flying around the field more than they have in the past.
Final district game or matchup, Merkel at Hawley.
Hawley's playing pretty good this year, and Merkel, I talked to Coach Mullins Tuesday, and of course he's singing the blues, but like I told him, as the weather cools and they get in better shape and they get all their kids back, Merkel will be good by the time it gets to district. They always are. They always kind of start off slow and just kind of round themselves into shape.
And our neighbors to the west, Cisco Lobos host Godley.
Yeah, big game. Sort of like us in Grandview last week, very similar. Grandview and Godley are close and similar, and it'd be a big game night. I don't think, from what I understand, Godley's quite as good as they have been the past few years, but nonetheless, they're going to be real big up front, real physical, and be a quality opponent.
We'll take our final break, another 2-minute break. We'll come back and talk about the Goldthwaite Eagles here on KATX 97.7. And welcome back to the Morning Huddle here on KATX 97.7. We're live from the lobby of the First Financial Bank. Our host for the Morning Huddle each and every week except next week. We're going to take the week off next week, bye week for the teams, and it's going to be a bye week for the Morning Huddle as well as we prepare for district, which will come up, man, Coach, 2 weeks away. We're October 4th, and this season's flying by in a hurry.
Yeah, we talk. I'm sure. I hope they don't. But at times, I'm sure our kids. No, I really think they understand this. We talk to our kids about that all the time. That it'll be gone before you know it. And you can put out instances there and ask them to remember the first scrimmage, or can you think about what we did the third day of practice of the year? They're like, man, I don't have no. I said that was not so long ago, and it's gone. And we work real hard with our boys and just try to get them to understand the situation they're in, and to not take things for granted, and to play 1 week at a time, but more than that, play one practice 1 day at a time, and back that up is take one play at a time, and never take something that you think's always been there for granted, and just really focus on it. So, but as you said, we're fourth game done after tonight, and we get 0 more practice games, if you will, for district, so we're going to take it, hopefully take it big tonight and be ready to go.
Tonight we'll travel down the road about 90 miles to Goldthwaite to take on the Eagles. The Eagles, historically, a very good 1A team, several state championships under their belts, off to a slow start this year at 0-3.
Always good every single year. Nothing has changed. I think tonight they're going to honor their 20th anniversary of their 93 state championship team. There was 2A state champs in 93 and 94, I believe, maybe 92 as well. Got beat in the finals that year. They're 0-3. Let's see, they've lost to McGregor's top 5 team in our division. They've lost to Mason, who was #1 in the state at the time. They lost to Bangs last week. They play us this week, and they play Mart next week, who was state finalists last year. They don't mind getting out there and playing some people. So, don't go looking at the 0-3 score and think, well, it's just a little old 1A Goldthwaite, because that really doesn't tell the story.
Offensively, what can we expect?
The same thing you can expect from any Goldthwaite team from, I guess, the dawn of time, I would assume. Too tight, bone. Sometimes they'll split one guy out, and they're going to hand the ball off, and they're going to get in there, and they're going to play that whole game in the width of about 6 yards if they can, and if they'll take their 2 yards, and if they get 3, they'll be happy with it. If they get 4, they'll celebrate, and just go back to the huddle and do it again. And if you get 6, 7 possessions on the night, they're going to be happy with it. And that's a perfect night to them. So. It's a total, like we told our boys, it's a total different game than you see ever. And what Goldthwaite does, they do what they do as well as anybody in the state. Some people are a spread, some people are I. Lago Vista, as you talked about earlier, they're a slot T team, which is extremely unique, but they do it as well as anybody, and that's how Goldthwaite is in their bone.
And a team that, if you get behind,
it's hard.
They're going to want to.
It's very hard, and that's what. From our offensive standpoint, we always value possession of the ball. If you listen to us and watch, we always talk about turnovers. We've got 1 on the year, which we feel like is pretty decent. But tonight, that's even magnified even more, because if you get your normal, most games you're going to get 10, 11, 12 possessions. I bet the other night we had 14 or 15. But on a night like tonight, a normal night for them, you're going to get 7 or 8. If you get 7, and let's pretend you had 3 turnovers, so now you're down to 4 possessions, and pretend they stopped you on 2 of them. Now you're down to 2 that you might score, and so
possibly 16 points.
Yeah, it's just it's a total different game, and you got to play that way, and you got to understand where you are with that, and so you got to get ahead, and when I say ahead, you like to be ahead on the scoreboard, but you got to be ahead in the chains and the sticks, and you got to get them in long yardage and get them out of what they do, or you'll be in for a long night.
Coach, any particular players to watch for on the Goldthwait side of the ball?
Not really. Well, I can tell you right now, defensively, they got one defensive lineman that's probably their best player. It's been there. I think he's been on varsity 4 years now. But honestly, no, just a typical Goldthwait team where they're going to talk about their offensive line and their running backs, and those guys will run hard, and they'll look for contact, and the more you hit them, the more they'll like it. So you just better put your big boy pants on and get ready to play.
All right, Coach, we're out of time already, so good luck tonight. Safe travels down to Goldthwait. I guess if there would happen to be any scheduling changes, you'll let us know at the radio station. We can get that word out. But as of right now, football 7:30 in Goldthwait. Thanks to my engineer back in the studio, Matthew Householder. Thanks to Coach Hewlett. Thank you for your time this time. Till next time, I'm Terry Slavens. Have a fabulous weekend, everyone.